On that note, can I bring in my segment, which is somewhat related?
Yes.
Look, I was going to try to make an analogy with Halloween. There's none. Okay, so
No, you have to.
so UAE. Have you heard of that, Miss Love?
Yes, I
The
have.
United Arab
Oh, yeah.
Emirates.
Yeah, yes.
But he thinks it's a soccer team. It's kind of a country. But go on.
No, it's pretty much the soccer team,
It's
actually.
kind of a bunch of countries.
You know
actually.
what? He's right. You're banned from being the expert on foreign affairs from now on.
I mean, look, Miss Love does come. He is psychic. I can't beat that shit. I have to read and watch like YouTube videos. But on this very, very important segment, Jordan has decided, I'm fucking off.
He's just getting some tea.
Oh, he's coming back. So the UAE has just announced.
I want to see them comments.
Yeah, you can see the comments, but
But I'm listening.
the UAE has just announced that they are looking to naturalize all of the expatriate citizens over there. So this is I don't know if you're aware of this, but the peculiarity about UAE and like places like Qatar is that their citizens are only like 10% of the population of the country.
Yeah, like that's the same in Dubai, right?
Same in Dubai.
Yeah.
So UAE, so Dubai comes within UAE.
It's just a lot of Indian people, and they're like
A lot of Indians, Pakis, Bangladeshis, Filipinos, but like to the
And
point.
So pretty much,
Frankly, they're doing it
the
right.
Middle East migrated into Europe, and Europe migrated into the Middle East.
The Middle East migrated into Europe. Well, not nearly as much as wait. So the Middle East migrated into Europe. I'm guessing you're talking about like how French. There's too many Algerians there. You're talking about that, right?
Yes.
No Algerians were part of the Middle East, but yeah, something
Well,
along
North
those
Africa.
lines.
Anyway, yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Don't you think?
But
Because
what Europeans are moving to Dubai? What Europeans are moving to Dubai?
all of them
Oh
aren't
yeah,
they?
there are Europeans moving into Dubai. Well, there's
I just imagine everybody. When I think of someone who lives in Dubai now, I think of a French man with sleeked back hair, just being, "Do you want to come back to my apartment?"
yeah.
I don't think that's like the majority of the people.
They're not
Like,
majority,
saying
but
it is.
no, there's a lot of them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Isn't
Because of,
90% a majority?
Because of
Have I been misinformed?
well, no, they're not 90% Europeans. They're 90% non-Emiratis.
So like,
So like a mix of different.
Oh,
people.
so there is a bunch of beady weedies.
Well,
there
okay,
as well.
I can tell you the breakdown. Actually, I think they're 25%.
are you just gonna overlook that term?
I'm sorry, but I think we're gonna have to.
Sorry.
It's too hilarious not to say.
Fair.
I don't care if it's racy or not. Dude. Calling an Arab guy a beady weedy. I heard some comedians call it in the 90s, and I was like, nah, I'm sorry, that has to come back.
Yeah, we gotta
It's
bring
too
it back.
good.
Dude, and you're worried about getting clipped out of context. Anyway, go
Dude,
on.
this is the other thing. Like, someone was asking me the other day, "What's your line? At what point do you say that joke's too offensive?" And I came to the weird realization: I don't think I have a line
you
anymore.
don't have it.
You definitely don't.
Yeah.
And
What
frankly,
does he get
neither
off
do you.
the train for?
Well, from like not because I'm offended, but because like I don't want to get crucified in public is
Yeah.
why I'm like off of the train. And also, I might just not agree with that point of view. It's not that I'm offended by the point of view. It's that I don't think so. That's why I'm not on the train. But anyways,
Right.
but I think that comes with the job that we are doing. Like, we can't have a line anyways.
You definitely can't have a line.
Yeah, not in this biz.
Can't?
You
In
can't.
fact, now that I think about it, you have most of the lines.
Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? I'm
Yeah.
just like, well, come on, boys, you just call them beaties. Yeah, how about that half of it? Yeah. I mean, look, I don't know, maybe just the outrageous shit. I'm just like,
Now
oh,
that I
no.
You
think
do
about it,
have a
Ali
line.
is the least offended.
Yeah, well,
I mean, he
you-
reads Hitler's
but
book,
like
you know?
you're not offended either, Jordan. Like, there's no like line for you either.
Don't think I've ever been offended by anything anyone's ever said. I'm trying to think.
That's
back.
true. That is-
You know what I do get offended by or triggered by? Someone saying, I am not watching your videos anymore. I'm not listening to your podcast anymore. Because I have one searing question in my mind every time. Who the fuck are you?
I told you, guys.
And why?
Yeah.
But you should ask yourself, why do you know that that person doesn't want to watch your shit? Stop reading your shitty comments.
Yeah, you're right.
Can we move back to UAE real quick? Okay.
You may.
So the UAE has like Jordan's walking off again. Now UAE again. Fuck off. So they've now come up with this new. They're planning on naturalizing their expatriate populations,
That's crazy.
which is remarkably crazy. Imagine like if they were willing to like if Australia was willing to accept a whole population of people that weren't Australian that were like also 40 million as opposed to our 24 million. It is crazy. And
Yeah.
most of the policy, most of the debate around this, if you have heard of this move, is that finally they're giving in because it was unfair to like have all of these workers and not giving them any
I
citizens'
suspect
rights.
that's not why they're doing it.
And that's like there was like a lot of pressure by the United States to like natural, but that is not the reason.
It's like can I just predict that it's somehow a tax loophole?
It's not a tax loophole, but you're close. Let me. So well, actually, you're not. The reason is that the UAE is made up of like 7 to 8 different independent what used to be kingdoms, and then they were all amalgamated into the United Arab Emirates around 1971, I think. And one of the things that they did at that point was make a lot of people that were people from Yemeni descent or Iranian descent or Bedouin descent citizens.
Ali, there's no reason to make up countries.
So the Yemeni and the Bedou, or they're known as like the Bedou people,
that was funny.
they were given citizenship at that time, and it was exclusively just for them. And what they did, because there was a lot of oil that was found in the UAE, they started giving like these insane welfare advantages to people that are Emiratis, who are also not just a royal family, but were also these like pre-1971 population that were living there. They were mostly, they had some relation to Iran, which becomes important now. So anyway, so these are the people. Like I'll tell you some of the advantages that these people have. Outside of very limited free trade zones in the UAE, you cannot own a business without having an Emirati as your partner.
That's like Malaysia, right?
Yeah, that's like Malaysia, and but more turbocharged, even more. So the
Malaysia's too lazy to do it.
the Malaysia, and also they just don't have a shitload of oil wealth to give away as these welfare incentives to their population. So UAE, Abu Dhabi, which is part of the UAE, is the only sort of state within that country that has a lot of oil reserves. So they also have like a lot of influence over their politics as a result. But anyway, so what was happening recently was that the UAE decided that they want to have an even more confrontational foreign policy towards Iran. And that's why they recognized Israel recently as well, if you've been following the news. UAE recognized Israel, which is like a pretty big move. But what that's doing is it's pissing off a lot of these citizens that have some sort of association with Iran, either directly, as in their ancestors were from Iran, or their ancestors are from regions which are Shiite in population, so they have Iranian sympathies. So they're putting in a lot of pressure on the UAE royal families to stop having this like really antagonist foreign policy towards Iran.
I'm surprised. I would have thought they'd be buddied up with Iran.
No, they're not buddied up with Iran, and UAE hates Iran because of the.
Why?
Well, that's an entire podcast on itself, but
Just
like
give it to me in a sentence.
Not the same Muslims.
it is not the same Muslims, and it is the only kind of Muslims that are giving like an opposition to their kind of Islam, which is the dominant one at the moment.
Which is basically like corporate Islam, kind of, right?
Corporate Islam mixed in with like some crazy fundamentalist shit, which you're not going to be a fan
Why are
of.
all of America's enemies the best countries?
Again, endorsing extremism.
Again, endorsing, but that's it. Kind of does make a little bit of sense because I don't think
there's extremism in America. You can get like jumbo dongo burritos. If you eat it all, you get a T-shirt. That's a kind of extremism.
That actually is really full on.
Thank you.
Yeah, look,
Sick of this
you've turned me around on this one, Miss. You've got me a lot to mull on as usual. Nachos.
and now I will vote
Burritos.
liberal. It changes the entire calculus.
Anyway, sorry, go on.
Well, so the reason why UAE is willing
I'll get to the
to
bottom burritos.
so the reason why UAE is willing to like now give citizenship to its expatriate population is because that's the only way where they can like increase their sort of citizenry base and will include all of these other people like the Pakistanis, the Bangladeshis. Mind you, they're not going to give citizens to poor Pakistanis, but the ones that have been like sort of living there for ages and are part of the middle class. And they know
So pretty much your friends get citizenship.
yeah, ones that like have been there for some time, not the ones that have recently.
Isn't that all
gone
your
there.
friends? Didn't
Yeah.
all of them go there or to Canada? And if they went to
Yeah.
the UAE, they're successful businessmen. If they went to Canada, they're stoners.
A lot of my friends' families would possibly get the citizenship. through this process. But what they would do is that this is going to give the royal family of Abu Dhabi and Dubai, which are basically the two main players in UAE, the sort of base to be able to counter these tribal sort of like oligarchies that are influencing them not to have a hawkish anti-Iran policy. So they're like, okay, if we accept all of these Indians, Pakis into our citizenry, they're basically just going to be like, yeah, fuck Iran. And they're not wrong, because these people, the people that they're willing to give citizenship to, are just like they want to make money. That's all they care about. So they
It's
will.
the same reason for migration as it is everywhere else.
Yes,
Pretty
yes,
much.
To
And also-
dilute the population's wishes.
yes, pretty much.
Is that? Oh.
But because the
Do you agree that
population,
that's a fair sentiment of what the tactic behind migration is, or one of them?
it's certainly one of them.
Yeah, it
It's
definitely
not
is.
the whole
Cheaper
thing.
wages for corporations, essentially.
That's one of them, but I've been thinking about it more and more. If you have immigrants coming into a country that aren't, what's the word, like assimilated or whatever,
Yeah.
like it's the same thing with
Naturalized.
it's the same thing with like my girlfriend's parents, right? They don't really have any interest in Australian politics at all. They have an interest in politics, but their interest is in Vietnamese politics.
Yeah.
So they're constantly learning about that.
It's strange.
So if you're a crap government, you want a population that has no interest in what you're doing.
that's a
100%.
That's a pretty
yeah.
good point. Yeah, that's
But
a
then,
very
like,
good
if
point.
you're a crap government, then most of the people would be kind of into what you're doing because you're fucking up. You're a crap government. It's easy for Australians not to give a fuck about politics when, like, most of the shit's fine. As in, like, there's horrible shit that is long term, as in, like, the planet's going to be destroyed, like, wildlife. Like, I'm not saying that I'm not.
But right now,
But right now, it's chill. But for, like, a lot of these other countries, it's pretty horrible at that point, which is why they're more interested in it.
well, I mean, it sounds like that's what the UAE is doing.
Yeah, that's definitely what the UAE is doing. And
So it's a purely political move.
100%, and it's got nothing just for all those people that are like reading the news and saying like, finally, tyranny is coming down. It's like, actually, no, tyranny is being propped up even more here, in just a different way by like increasing the democratic base.
Well, maybe not propped up more, but it hasn't been resolved.
Well, I think it's more because this like hawkish anti-Iranian policy is not good for anyone. That's my own assessment.
Why?
Because dude, like you'd rather like it's the same reason why like I oppose hawkish anti-Chinese stuff. Like try to like fucking work shit out because war kind of sucks.
Does Iran
Is
have
that too
nuclear
much?
weapons?
For Iran.
Iran does not have nuclear weapons, but if Iran is pushed into a situation, they can develop nuclear weapons within a matter of years if they wanted to.
Don't stress about them.
That's years away.
Yeah.
That's here, but like if Trump like character stays there, then they'll have no other option but to enrich uranium and start making bombs.
Ali has such a 2001 worldview.
What?
He's obsessed with the Middle East.
Well,
I
it's
am
interesting.
a
No,
little bit.
dude,
But this
it is
UAE point was
interesting.
good because like no one knows exactly what the reason is, and it's getting all of this like praise in media saying like, oh, finally democracy is
Yeah.
coming to UAE. Whereas that's not the case at all.
Why,
Oh,
when
yeah.
you went there, you thought, man, fuck this place? Because you clearly seem to be very, very interested in sand and camels.
Wasn't it like
I
heaven?
am interested in sand and camels, but I'm not interested in the UAE because they suck balls.
Why?
Dude, this is
Do
like
When I went there, yeah, the play equipment was terrifying. It was just giant children screaming, crouched over.
What?
But hey, I'm not a kid. Maybe that's what they're down with these days. But when I went there, it seemed pretty cool. It seemed like that desert planet that Luke Skywalker wanted to escape. And
June.
let's be honest, so did I. So I've changed my opinion. It sucked.
It was June.
because they're trying to make it cool. It's an unnatural place. One of the things that they do and they've successfully done is that they've legitimately eliminated the entire middle class. So the way like taxes.
You like that?
No, I like middle classes. I mean, I kind
remember
of hate
one
middle
day
classes.
You came to me. This was years ago, and you go, I came to a conclusion, man. The middle class sucks ass.
Yeah, from George Carlin. That's where I got that from. And but I still want them to be there so I can hate on them. But the way
Ali's. I mean, come on. Why am I the one who's always getting clipped as not saying controversial things? This is Ali's actual stance. Fuck doctors.
yeah, fuck them.
Jesus.
Dude, it's not controversial. I don't understand why. Fuck them. And at this point, I can even say it because I am brown too, and all doctors are brown. So
Not
Yeah,
all
you
of them.